Hi, this is Jonathan Deli, and I'm here today to talk with you about a teacher interview I had with Mrs. Stacy Walton, a second grade teacher at Blue Creek Elementary. I decided to ask her a series of questions as she is my partner teacher during this term to get a little more insight in terms of what it is they do to prepare and what they study and how they go about studying for their social studies during the term. One of the first things I asked and was really curious about, as I think we all are as teachers and soon-to-be teachers, is when it comes to planning for school and for the classes that we're going to teach, do they stick strictly to utilizing the textbooks that the schools have, or do they actually expand in multiple platforms? And one thing I found interesting is that the second graders actually do not use any social studies books, so teaching them makes it a little more challenging, but thanks to the internet, Mrs. Walton actually utilizes a multitude of different ways to ensure that the standards are met for the students using like the Teachers Pay Teachers, Pinterest, BrainPop Junior, and obviously, of course, books from the library, which then obviously gives them a lot more ways to delve deeper into the basic understandings of history. And that led to my next question, really, is we find that some teachers stick strictly to the established standards as outlined by the state, and they do not veer left or right from that. And I think sometimes teachers and future teachers, we do a disservice to the students by not allowing expansion beyond the minimum requirements. Because I think as students, the more they understand an area, whether it's social studies, math, science, whatever the case may be, if we can expand their minds so they have a better understanding of something, it makes them more effective in, I think, greater in terms of being able to look and find those concepts and be able to understand and delve deeper, which I think is what we always want. And as you can see, that's one thing that she does, is she likes to expand for that reason, so they can have more understanding, which I think is very important. I, of course, enjoy social studies, history, whatever you want to call it. And this is one thing I asked her, is what she likes, or is more enthusiastic in terms of what it is she likes to teach. And she obviously likes teaching about the Americas and mapping, which sadly a lot of high schoolers have a hard enough time finding countries around the world. So she likes to really engage her students early on. And the utilization of a flat Stanley, which I've never done, but I have seen it done many times through other classrooms. Another thing, too, as we all face, is the budgetary cuts. In how is it that she goes about to engage the students beyond the books, the internet, in order to get them really the hands-on opportunities? And thankfully, the county allows them 2 field trips per year, one in the fall and one in the spring, which I think is great. Sadly, I wish kids were allowed more opportunities, but like I said, with the budget cutbacks, it's obviously not possible. So when they do their field trips, they try and narrow it down to a couple of good areas where the kids can really get hands-on and gain a better understanding of the history within that particular area, especially within the state of North Carolina. One of the biggest things, obviously, when teaching is with more and more requirements given by the state and by the federal government to teach our kids, do we find ourselves pushing the lesser required elements of education to the background, in this case, like social studies? And I've seen it where in class, math takes priority, science takes priority, and it overlaps into the social studies area. And then all of a sudden you don't have time to teach it, so it's just pushed to the right, and eventually they may or may not get to it, or if they do, they'll cram all of about 3 weeks into about a day, just barely touching the topics. But as you can see, Ms. Walton was very adamant when it comes to the challenges of time, as the requirements are continually pushed to them. You have to stay strict to your timeline. Otherwise, everything will get pushed off, like I said, and you otherwise will not be able to truly give the kids the opportunity to learn like they need to. This was my second term working with Mrs. Walton, and I've really been able to understand the teaching philosophies that she has in terms of making sure the kids get full opportunities to delve into math and science, and in this case, social studies. Hopefully this has helped everyone, and I will talk to you all later.